All right, welcome in to a new week here on this Monday morning. Glad you can all join us here on Tingle and Co. as we await the arrival of our third chair,
our insider,
our LSU insider, as he was at practice on Saturday. Christian made his way over to the Ponderosa, and he's gotten caught behind a little bit of a wreck, I believe, there on Interstate 10. As he shot me the text over this morning. So hopefully he'll be here soon. He'll probably walk right in, sit right down, and start talking if I've ever met the young man. Mm-hmm. But, Lloyd, good morning. How was your weekend? Good morning.
Excellent weekend. How was your weekend, sir?
Oh,
you have a better story than I do. You actually did something.
Yes, a little charity softball tournament as me and some of my buddies played in the Caroline Grace Foundation softball tournament, I believe is what it's called. It was out in Brewley at Alexander Park over the weekend. I think Walk On sponsored it. Kane stepped in and sponsored it. It was a good time. And we did it last year. Decided we were going to run it back without, we left the tournament last year saying, you know what, we're going to do this, a couple weekends out of the year. We're going to, here and there during the week so we can actually be prepared, because we just went out there last year, didn't know what to do. And that didn't happen. The first time we picked the bat and the softball up was just one of the days last week to get a few cuts in, and then started off strong with a first game win against some of our other friends, and then fell swiftly 3 games in a row after that against some real top-notch opponents.
That's the thing. For anybody that's ever played softball, it was fun in the UREC, that type of environment. But then there's always this sect of people that says this is not for fun. This is a professional approach, where they show AGR's great fraternity, whatever, always showed up in the softball pants to a UREC tournament. It's what are we doing? And then they proceed to be able to put the ball wherever you like. They couldn't throw it like a grenade better than this.
That was unbelievable.
It's unbelievable how good people can be at softball and how serious they can take it.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be fun.
Those last 3 teams we played, you could tell played consistently.
They play every weekend.
The year. And so it was just
this is their goal.
Why are y'all here?
Yeah, I get it, because they saw a tournament that they could win.
Of course, but I was just I don't care about winning that much in this, because whatever. Obviously, I want to win because I'm competitive, but I just want to play in a competitive game. But those last 3 games, we got absolutely dog walked.
Ugh.
Except for the third one, we made interesting. The third
was the piss missiles.
Yes, and it was hot on Saturday. But yesterday we got out there 8 a.m. or 8:30 for the losers bracket game, and the losers bracket is 1 pitch. That's it. One pitch. If it's a strike, you're out. If it's a ball, take your base. If you foul it off, you get two foul balls. If you foul it off a second time, you're out. So
how fast did that go by?
It's a 30-minute game. It's quick.
Go.
It's quick. And so we go down 10-0 after the first inning. And so we go in.
That's you pitching.
I know. I'm just up there. I'm like, guys, we got to do it. I need something back there. And then we put on two runs in the bottom of the first. Top of the second, we put a 0 up on the scoreboard. So then I was feeling good. I was like, okay, brought my ERA down a touch, putting a 0 up on the board. And then we scored 8 in that bottom of the second. So we were tied 10-10 going into the third inning. And then they just absolutely ran away with it. It was rough, but it was a good time. And it's always fun to be able to do something enjoyable for charity.
Yeah, aside from the charity aspect, you probably would have rather been at practice.
Yes, I would have rather been at LSU football practice on Saturday instead of out there getting just absolutely wrecked and demolished on the softball field. We will have Glenn West join us at 8 a.m. this morning to talk some LSU football, because like we said, they had practice on Saturday, full availability as the media, and I believe the media just walked in.
That's right.
You can come on through. Everyone's waiting for you. Nice. But here comes Christian, slowly making his way through. But like I said, Glenn West, 8 a.m. will join us. Obviously, the big news over the weekend came out on Friday as we did our show Friday morning. A lot of discussion and conjecture. Some people were for it. A lot of people were against it. And we told you that on Friday and Saturday, you would know more than what you knew Friday morning at 7 a.m. And that was very true, as prior to Joe Sloan's press conference, Brian Kelly walked out, talked to the media, just spoke to him, not even on the microphone, literally walked in just in the middle of the floor and let them know about Nusmeier's injury, that it was tendonitis in his patella tendon. He aggravated it at practice on Wednesday through on, what day was it, Friday, Thursday, they were off, through on Friday, and then like Christian put out on our Twitter, was a full participant in practice on Saturday. BK had kind of let them know tomorrow he'll be out in a practice situation. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 1.5. So that was the answer to the question that everyone was thinking about over the weekend, especially on Friday after media availability had been kind of taken away, essentially, and moved towards Saturday. A lot of people were wondering the full results of that injury, and it ends up just being patella tendonitis. So obviously not bad news. It's actually, I guess you could say, good news. It is unfortunate that your quarterback is going to be having a chronic pain in his knee throughout the season, and it's something that can bug him throughout, and it's not something they can really just solve. So it is something they're going to have to work throughout the 2025 season, but it's good news that it's not like a high ankle sprain or something worse than just a little aggravated chronic issue, and definitely better than the original rumor that was put to bed quite quickly. So good to hear that Nusmeier's good to go, and then obviously he was out on the practice field on Saturday getting some work in with the guys. LSU put out a nice little video of Nusmeier dropping back and letting one fly to Barry and Brown. I don't know if y'all saw it, but it looked quite beautiful. So it was good to see him. And you can see in the video the little leg, he's got the little knee brace / sleeve kind of thing on.
Got the copper fit on.
Got the copper fit on. Saw a couple of those on the old softball field this weekend.
Bet.
I mean, it could have been sponsored by Copper Fit. Copper Fit and Miller Lite brings you the softball tournament. But you saw Nusmeier with the Copper Fit on his knee drop back and throw one in the bucket to Barry and Brown. Shout out to the LSU football Twitter page for putting that clip out. So good to see Nusmeier back out on the practice field. That was the good news of the weekend. Obviously, that Nusmeier's injury not
season-ending, career,
not major in any realm of the word. Like, because that was the thing, it's obviously not major to the ACL tear, carted off, but how minor, what does that mean? We get, some actual relief with that answer, and then see him on the field on Saturday. The bad news over the weekend, here's that throw. You can see the copper fit there on the left knee, but just go ahead and drop one in the bucket. I think you're gonna see that a good bit this season, I have a feeling. Little play action, let it fly. Looks good to me. Mm-hmm. The bad news over the weekend, freshman running back JT Lindsay has been suspended from the team after he turns himself in to the authorities for it was accessory after the fact was the charge, as I believe two guys that were wanted for murder, for second-degree murder, stayed in his dorm recently, and it was the shooting death happened back in May. Those two were in his dorm over, I guess, recently, and he turned himself in over the weekend. I think it was it Friday? Was it right after the Nusmeier knee injury news comes out? And then I saw this pop
August
up on
9th.
the Twitter. Yeah, so I mean, that would have been that would have been Saturday. August 9th would have been Saturday. But yeah, so there's JT Lindsay. I don't want to get too much into the logistics and the legality of all of it. It obviously it's obviously unfortunate, and it seems like a bit of a messy situation. The unfortunate thing is, especially obviously for Lindsay to be involved in this, we wish him the best and hope that it can be resolved and figured out, as he's obviously a promising young man that we hope can develop and be obviously really good on the football field, but in the world as well. But on LSU's end, this is now two very promising running backs over the last 2 seasons that have gotten into legal trouble and left the room in a very tough spot. I would not expect JT Lindsay to be on the team this year to play football. I mean, I don't know how it'll take to get this kind of figured out, but I just would go in it with the point of view of don't have too high of expectations, because you saw how the Trey Holly situation played out, where it just lingered on and on and on, and never still is yet to be resolved, and he's at Southern. So now that's 2 young running backs that have gotten into some legal trouble and left the LSU running back room in a very, very interesting position. I'm
kind of on the other side of this. Like, just reading the report, LSU running back JT Lindsay was suspended from the school's football team after surrendering to police on Friday. He's the one that went in. It's not like they kicked the door down.
Right.
The freshman and former 4-star recruit was arrested for accessory after the fact to second-degree murder. He's accused of letting 2 suspects, one in a shooting death in May, stay in his dorm. Yes, he is suspended from participation in LSU football activities per university policy until the charges against him are resolved. That's the sentence, and that's for his attorney, Chris Perrette. It feels like he just did it kind of like everything by the book. Like,
right.
Oh, shit. And from the stories that were kind of, like, I'll continue from the attorney. Perrette said Lindsay is adamant that he is innocent of any alleged criminal misconduct and any allegations of wrongdoing against him, and that he was unaware that the individuals arrested had committed any crimes, or that they had been accused of any crimes, or that they were wanted by the police for questioning when he allowed them to stay at his apartment. That just sounds like your boys came over and you I don't know what y'all been up to. Like, A-Town be balling. I left.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, that was my first.
So I don't know if it'll be the entire year. I think this will be resolved pretty quickly, in my mind.
Well, no, I think it could be resolved. I just don't think he'll play for LSU this season. Like, I think by the time it gets resolved, I wouldn't imagine you would have many games on the schedule that I didn't think he was going to play much anyways. But yeah, hopefully he gets him back on the practice field. But I don't know. I've kind of learned with these situations not to have
it's a take it slow mentality.
The highest expectations going into it. Obviously, innocent until proven guilty, all of those things. But I just wouldn't have the highest expectations. That's just the way I've kind of dealt with these situations.
There wasn't a report that came out that said he had guns in his dorm?
I did see that there was a report involving guns in the room, but I'm trying to find that to get
Does his attorney comment on that?
Let's see.
No, this is just the report from WBRZ, but that's all that I knew. I mean, I don't know about the gun situation, so that could totally change. That could change it entirely.
Let's see. I'm on 3 right now. On 3 put out a report. They said WAFB also reported marshals found multiple guns in the dorm, including 2 AR-15 rifles. Lindsay's friends with the suspect. We've been staying with him for nearly 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's cooked.
So
yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't have the highest expectations about this. So it's unfortunate, obviously, for Lindsay to be involved, in a situation like this and to have to go through it. But obviously, it's a catch-22 when you hate to see someone at such a young age have something like this come down, but on the flip side, they've got more than enough time in their life to kind of get it straightened out and move forward. For LSU, it sucks because now your running back room is left with 3 scholarship running backs. Especially, I guess you could say, Juwan Johnson, obviously still in the mix. But right now, going with Caden Durham, Caleb Jackson, Harlan Berry, those are 3 scholarship running backs, and that is it on the roster right now. So it does leave the running back room in an interesting position. I didn't think JT Lindsay was going to play a big part of the team this season anyways, but it's obviously unfortunate that he's involved in this situation, no longer He's been suspended from the team, and the Tigers will move forward without him for the time being. Obviously, that is a story to try and stay looking at, try to stay up to date on. We'll see what happens, but I would not have very high expectations for what it looks like for JT Lindsay and Louisiana State University. Another unfortunate news, the Saints played football yesterday. So if you turned your TV over to the NFL Network and watched that game, I am sorry because I was at the Tio Javi's last night enjoying some enchiladas, and the game was on the television. I lost my appetite because they flicked it on.
No, you didn't.
I never
Don't
lose my
lie.
appetite. You got me. They flicked it on, and Tyler Shuck throws the pick six as soon as I look over at the television, and I was like, that's very unfortunate. Now, the response after the pick six was great. The 54-yard touchdown was nice, but it was not from an offensive football standpoint, not a pretty game for the New Orleans Saints. The quarterback play, I would not say was much to tune into as they fell 27-13 against the Chargers. As Trey Lance was the best quarterback on the field yesterday.
It's going to be a long year.
It's going to be a very long year. If you had any high hopes going into the season, I hope you have gotten those straightened out after what we saw on the TV yesterday, because that was very, very rough.
At least Joel Myers was on the call. That was good to hear his voice.
Of course. It's always good to hear Joel.
April.
It's always good to hear Joel on the television. Next up, into the two claps for this morning, the Biletnikoff Award watch list holds one LSU Tiger on that list. Christian, who is it?
Aaron Anderson.
There you go. Good. I thought, there's obviously different ways it could go. But I think Aaron Anderson, obviously. I think if it was going to be just one, it would be Aaron.
I think the only other one could be Barryon Brown, but.
Yeah, and Aaron Anderson is on the watch list for college football's most outstanding receiver, the Biletnikoff Award, and rightfully so. Two claps for Aaron. Ready. Next up, how about old Will Campbell? Anybody tune into the Patriots versus the Commanders the other day, or watch any of the clips on the social medias? Because Will Campbell looked absolutely outstanding. Brian Baldinger did a nice little clip, a little montage of showing off some of Will's plays on the day against the Commanders. And, I mean, Will Campbell, it looked like a man amongst boys as a 20-year-old rookie. Little toss crack here. Get some.
Athlete.
Get some.
Oh, shit.
Play's over.
Play to the whistle, brother.
Yeah, I mean, I'm playing through the whistle, coach. That's what I like to see. Get a little chippy.
It is interesting.
Double team here on the inside.
Yeah, but this, it's.
He's moving.
You didn't utilize him like that at LSU.
No, I mean, I couldn't tell you. I mean, a toss crack.
He's an athlete.
Oh, my gosh. Him and Emery.
He could have helped your run game.
Yeah.
Look at that. Doesn't even fight back. Come on. Pushes him.
I mean, like here.
That boy
here
don't
he
know how to
is.
take care of no dog.
I mean, there's manhandling this poor interior defensive lineman.
Hmm.
Like you thought Will Campbell was a handful by himself. Here's a double team.
He and Vrabel are going to make babies together.
Hey, the toss crack worked well.
You know
Here's
he can
a
do
little pass
this.
pro.
Set him.
It's like, I mean, that's a brick wall. Like stone-walled.
Mm-hmm.
Drop it off. Let's do toss crack again. Kayshawn Booty, watch this.
Oh, nice.
Get some.
What's up, boys?
There you go. I mean, that's LSU creating the hole right there for the toss play.
There you go. Through the whistle. Oh, it's snutty.
There it is. Will Campbell balling out. I mean, was there any discussion on who the best offensive lineman in the draft was? If you thought it wasn't Will Campbell, just tune into that
You're
and
out to
watch that.
lunch.
Two claps. Ready. Next up, Lloyd and I both put this one in there. So, Lloyd, I'll let you take the runway on this one. On old Zach Watson.
I think I did too,
Over the
actually.
weekend.
You
Did
put
you?
it in.
I
I
did.
didn't.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
that
thought-
was you.
Go ahead,
Nice.
Chris. I'll let you take the runway.
So I guess LSU had the Banana Ball League into the box on Friday. I saw that. I was like, shrink. But anyway, Zach Watson made his return with what team? The inflatables.
The Party Animals.
The Party Animals.
Yeah.
Not
All
the all
about
about
inflatables.
inflatables.
I thought,
You never know.
you never know. But what video do we have in the doc? Do we have
The backflip,
The
I
backflip
believe.
catch. Wearing his LSU jersey, pretty cool moment for number 9 there.
No, I thought
Still
it was,
looks the same.
I thought it was awesome. He when when he steps up to bat, he reveals the LSU jersey, and obviously everyone goes crazy. Looks great, and then he gets out in the outfield
Never forget that freshman season, man.
and shows off the backflip as
Andy was mic'd up.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. It was awesome. It was cool to see some LSU. I think Ryan Terrio was out there.
Jared Mitchell was out there.
And then Jared Mitchell, that's why I was saving him for last because Lord have mercy, comes out in like a gold cloak, right? He has like a gold helmet on, batting helmet. He has a gold cloak over him. He sheds it off. He's got the sleeveless jersey on. I mean, he looks like he's chiseled out of granite.
He does. He can
mean,
still
like,
do it if you needed him
I was
to.
like, I could have swore this guy was playing college baseball right now. He looked outstanding. So shout out to Jared, Zach Watson, Jared Mitchell, Cade Beloso, and the rest of the LSU legends that returned to play banana ball in the box. 2 claps. Ready. Speaking of that 54-yard touchdown throw from Tyler Shuck, as awesome as the play was by the quarterback and wide receiver, the play was made by the running back who was in the backfield. I don't know if anybody realizes this, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the only reason that this play is made. You can see it relatively well from, the normal TV broadcast side view angle when you get behind the QB.
Good block.
Where he just, it's a free blitzer coming in from the linebacker spot, and Clyde says, get some. Great double move there, but just stonewalled this linebacker. You want to know how to stay in the league? Mm-hmm. That'll do it.
Forget how small Clyde is, too.
But that's called using your leverage.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, that didn't
man
feel
wins.
good.
No, that poor linebacker ran into a brick wall he wasn't expecting to. 2 claps to Clyde on that play. Ready. Does anybody remember Cam Little from Arkansas, the kicker? Beat LSU in Nusmeier's first real outing, coming in for Max Johnson after the first series. Cam Little walked it off in 2021 against LSU. And then I don't even remember what he did. He did some sort of celebration and he was running around the field, whether it was the gritty or something.
Oh, yeah.
This little tiny Arkansas kicker, he took the field for the Jaguars yesterday and booted one from 70.
That's crazy.
And that thing was good from 80. It still had some leg underneath it.
That's what you see on YouTube.
It looks like Christian back there kicking first off.
You don't say this every time there's a small kicker. Really?
I knew you weren't going to like that. But shout out to Liam Cohen, is that his name? The head coach for the Jags now. Duval. As he gives Little the chance to boot it from 70, and he drills it.
He grittied on the logo, says Kimberly.
That's what it was. I remember something. He did something that really pissed me off that game. I remember because I had some hate in my heart towards him, but he absolutely booted that. So anytime you can see a 70-yard field goal, 2 claps. Ready. Now everyone vote. Do they do that during the season? Do they go back to that? Christian?
If he can make it, yeah. Shit.
Why not?
If they're in the situation, yeah.
Send it.
Yeah. That looked like it was going to be good from 80.
That's what I'm saying. It did not. It was not.
That was a kickoff.
It was not a rim grazer.
No.
All right, and then Christian, I'll let you go on your Shador Sanders soapbox here.
Let me pull up the stats real quick. So if you don't know, I was a huge Shador Sanders advocate coming out of college and going into the draft. He then gets blackballed, falls to the 5th round. And in his first preseason game, he goes 11 for 18, 103 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 3 carries for 20 yards, and has a passer rating of 113.9. Now, I want to say something. The blackball aspect of Shador Sanders, it applies to the NFL and the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints should have drafted this man over Tyler Shuck in the 3rd round. He was still on the board in the 3rd round. When you see him hitting the little wrist flick, hitting the perfect timing after a first down and in the end zone, that's the shit you want to see. So 2 claps for Shador Sanders. Ready.
I tell you what, if Shador gets a documentary, they better put Christian Cowley in it. Whether you're doing a voiceover.
They need to show
or
my
what.
tweets. They need to pull up my receipts, my tweets, like on the screen.
There you go.
I have been on that Shedeur Sanders train for a minute.
You have.
now.
I will never knock the fact, like you can. I'll be right there to be a reputable source that you have been beating the drum on the Shedeur Sanders side for quite a while. So he did play well. I thought he played better than both of the Saints quarterbacks.
And I don't
all
think
three.
I don't think there should be any surprise towards it either, because Shedeur went toe to toe with Caleb Williams in college. In Shedeur's second year, he went toe to toe with the junior Caleb Williams. Not to mention,
I'm just interested. The biggest thing with the Shedeur stuff is what's the Browns are going to do.
Yeah.
I don't think they want to start him.
they have 5 quarterbacks.
They've got 5 quarterbacks, so we'll see how it plays out. But obviously, back on to LSU, as my guy Mike Guidry in the chat is ready to see what LSU's looking like and hear our discussion. Like we told you, Nusmeier was out there after the injury announcement was updated on Friday. He was out on the practice field on Saturday. And while I was getting beat up on the softball fields on Saturday, and I do want to give a quick shout out there. I didn't get his name, but a viewer came up to me out on the softball fields.
Nice.
Said he loved the show. It's very nice to hear. And it was great. I was standing right next to my guy Gabe from All About Inflatables. And on the other side, my guy Pierce Patterson from CAS Roofing.
Yes.
And DJ Primo, LSU pitcher. And that, the guy
Love
comes
it.
up, gives me a nice little dap up. I was like, okay, well, I appreciate that. This is All About Inflatables CAS right here.
Yeah.
Give the sponsors a little bit of pub. But if you're in the chat or you're watching later on, make sure to let me know your name so I can give you your flowers. I appreciate you coming and saying hello. But like we said, LSU on the practice field on Saturday while I was playing softball, Christian was working. I appreciate you very much,
Yes.
Christian, for getting out there. It was very unfortunate. The results of this weekend, I would have rather been on the practice field
Yeah.
rather than the diamond because we got dog walked. But
Yeah.
you were out on the practice field. Just give me your overarching views from Saturday before we really dive into it.
Look, you didn't miss much on Saturday. I thought you saw a lot of red zone work, creative red zone work, not so much like they would put the ball in the 1 or the 2 or the 3, and instead of just running it up the middle, they would show different sets with Jawan Johnson and Caden Durham.
One overarching thing I do want to ask about, Nusmeier.
Yes, so I was about to get to him.
There you go. Get into
So
it.
he practiced at full speed. He kind of looked a little gimpy early in the handoff drills and stuff, but he kind of it almost like his knee got warmed up.
Loosened up a little
Yeah,
bit.
and he was moving. He was scrambling left, scrambling right, making throws on the run. There was one play in particular that I'll get to later if I do a play-by-play breakdown where the pocket collapsed on him. It looked like he was probably going to get sacked, but he ends up scrambling for about 10 yards. Now, I don't know if that's because Jack Pyburn let up a little bit and, decided not to hit the quarterback, or if Nusmeier did get out the pocket and move, but Nusmeier picked up about 10 yards on a scramble.
Which that's that's good
And
to see.
a first down.
Right,
Well,
that's good to see.
He gets out of bounds, and he comes up a little gimpy, limping a little bit
Right.
more than before.
Right.
So that's a bit concerning because, one scramble and we're limping. So, anyway, that was the Nusmeier deal. Interesting thing at practice. So, they have the 1-0 screen.
Yep.
Well, they were playing the Clemson National Championship, LSU versus Clemson National Championship behind it for a little bit. And then they also played Dabo running down the hill.
So they had a video of Dabo running down
Yes.
the hill playing on the screen.
While
Is
they're
this in the
practicing.
indoor?
Mm-hmm.
Also on that big Jumbotron.
Yes.
They had Dabo running down the
Dabo
hill.
running down the
That's
hill.
awesome.
So,
So just a little bit of of hype, I guess. A little
Yeah.
bit of bulletin board material, I guess you could say.
I guess, if you were looking at that, I feel like I just laugh at practice.
Of course.
Like,
But
But,
seeing
hey,
Dabo
it's
hustle
motivating.
down that hill was funny. But I do like playing the last LSU Clemson game.
yeah, you got to.
Was good to see.
They were focused.
But I guess on the Nusmeier front, just while we're talking about it a little bit, it's good to see him be willing to run and then do it effectively like he did,
Yeah.
even though he's a little shook up. It's going to be very interesting, even though the injury is not something major whatsoever. Like it is a minor deal, but it's a chronic deal, which
Yeah.
is something that means it's going to be could be nagging him throughout the year. And so it is going to be something to kind of pay attention to. It's a 1.5, like Kelly says, so it's not anything to be nervous about. I'm not nervous about the tendonitis in the knee. I think LSU obviously has a great athletic training staff, a great medical staff.
And Nuss is a fighter.
And they have the pieces to take care of him. And like Christian said, Nuss is going to battle and push through. He is a warrior. But I guess there could be some, kind of shakiness in just the knowing that something like that in a game where it's like he runs for 10 or 7 or whatever, gets up and he's just a little hobbly. Like, how many times will that just continue to grow, or how they handle it? Obviously, it's just something to keep an eye on. But I think you would be foolish to not trust the LSU staff to take care of that as they move forward this season. Staying on the quarterback topic, how did the other guys look while they were out there? Like we've said throughout the fall camp, they haven't looked the sharpest, Hurley and Van Buren. Did it look any different on Saturday?
So we saw a lot of red zone work, and I would say Michael Van Buren early in the red zone work looked better than Nuss. And not so much because Nuss looked bad. I think the coverage was probably better, but I think Michael Van Buren in the 1-on-1 or the 11-on-11 red zone had more touchdown passes. Yep. Now, look, Michael Van Buren's been rough to watch all practice, all fall camp, as well as Colin Hurley, who didn't have his best day either, but Michael Van Buren looked pretty efficient. I think he threw a pick in 7-on-7. But outside of that, he had his best day at camp. I thought he completed the most passes we had seen. He showed off his legs, which, look, he's fast. He's going to be able to run the ball. I know they put Juwan Johnson back there as a guy that can take the ball and run on a snap. But I think Michael Buren actually is probably a better weapon in the run game than Juwan Johnson, simply because of he's different. He's a gadget kind of quarterback. He's small. He's quick. He's speedy. He's a little bit quicker than Juwan from what I've noticed. Now Juwan can lower the shoulder. That's something Michael Van Buren and Nuss can't do. Juwan can kind of lower the shoulder, secure the ball. He runs like more of like a running back. But look, Michael Van Buren's a speedy type, and he definitely had his best day at camp on Saturday.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. Obviously, the good news is that you're not having to sit back and rely on a backup quarterback moving forward. No. But it is good to see the improvements and hear the improvements from those positions as LSU was back out on the practice field on Saturday. Some questions about the O-line. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we had talked about the O-line a good bit last week because you saw on, what was it, like Monday and Tuesday, they looked relatively decent, like improved somewhat. And then Christian went out there on Tuesday, and that was the full pads day where the defensive front just kind of ate their lunch a little bit. What did you see on the field on Saturday when it came to the offensive line?
So early on, they've kind of done 4-on-4 drills with 2 linebackers, 2 defensive line, and 4 offensive line that kind of hit the second level on the linebackers. Look, I thought they were the most physical they'd been all year in fall camp on that 4-on-4 drill. You saw in practice, I still think they're getting pushed around a little bit, but they definitely had a better day compared to previous days on Saturday.
Yeah.
I thought they got good push in the red zone. I think they suffered a little bit just by the offense trying to do more creative things because, look, they could have easily ran a ball up the middle on the 1, 2, 3 yard line. But instead they were trying to get Juwan Johnson snaps. They're trying to throw it up the Trades Green. They're trying to run passing plays tight in the red zone, I guess, to prepare for 4th down situations.
Right. Well, and that's part of the discussion when we're talking about the offensive line is the fact that they're not always going, especially in fall camp. Like, I mean, one, you're going up against a very good defensive front that LSU has, but they're not always going to be put in positions to be successful in fall camp. Yeah. Like, sometimes they're going to be put in spots to face adversity on purpose. Yeah. So, like, the fact that on the 1 or 2 yard line, they didn't tell them to just, hey, snap your chin strap up and run through somebody. Yeah. Instead it's, hey, we're going to try this. We're going to do a read option. We're going to throw it up to trade. You're going to put the offensive line in these different spots. And like Mike Guidry said, it gives them the opportunity to see different things and gel more as a unit. Yeah. So that's the important thing when we're talking about the offensive line in fall camp is to make sure you're understanding they're not always going to be put in positions to be the most successful.
And one thing from Saturday, unfortunately, was the false starts, specifically with the second team. We saw some with the first team as well, but a lot of penalties, a lot of unforced errors from the offensive line. I believe Trades Green had about 2 holds, I would say, in practice. So a little bit of an issue there. But again, I thought the offensive line had their best day. or one of their better days on Saturday.
Yeah.
And we saw a lot of rotation at the right guard position. I don't have the guys who switched in and out.
Do you have numbers?
It's on Eads' Twitter.
Okay.
He had all 4 players, but the right guard position had a lot.
Eads is outworking you. What a surprise!
I mean, especially on the offensive line, he is locked in on that.
Hey, it's important. Eads knows what's important. I mean, I would assume at right guard you would see a mix of Josh Thompson, Cohen Eccles, maybe a Carius Kern. I'm trying to think of who else potentially could be at guard. Mabanga at guard as well. Could be a strong mix of guys. But that is obviously the offensive line. We've talked about it. Tackle, center feel pretty secure. The interior at the guard spots is what obviously there's a lot of attention to be kind of paying attention to. As John Eads said, rotation at the guard spots include Mabanga, Eccles, Thompson, and Chester.
There it is.
So no Kern at the guard in that rotation, but obviously that's what we've heard. Left guard, you've seen rotation between Chester and Mabanga. Right guard, you've seen Eccles and Thompson. That obviously continues to be rotated, which means to me they still have not found that 5 yet. So we will continue to pay attention to that position group in the way it progresses forward. Mike Guidry, I heard that Bernard Gooden was clapping to draw O-line off, and Nuss and him got into it. I did hear that they bickered a little bit over that.
That was the last 11v11 period, so it looked like they threw a flag on the offensive line for a false start, but it definitely looked like the defensive kind of did that thing versus USC last year where they moved at the last second,
right? And
that's now against the rules. And it probably would have been a flag on the defense, and that's what Nuss was so upset about. So upset that they played 3 more plays before the end of practice, and Nuss had to be broken up between, I think, Bernard Gooden and Nusmeier. I mean, and Nusmeier was the only guy talking on the offense.
Yeah.
He was yelling, cursing. He was pissed. So.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like, look, that is the competitive energy and the intensity of fall camp. We've talked about it consistently, and those are the things that we're saying in fall camp. Whether it's the defensive line doing something that probably won't be allowed. Like, there's a lot of things that can happen in fall camp that won't happen in the game. So, like, as much as we're saying the offensive line looks like this, that, and the other in fall camp, there could be countless penalties that the defense is doing, the offense that aren't getting picked up or getting blamed on the wrong side, just genuinely from the fact that it is fall camp.
Yeah, that was also a theme. I don't think any other media member said this, but felt like – so the wide receivers had their worst day, I would say, out of the days we'd been there. But I also felt like the referees probably threw the least amount of flags they had. Because, I mean, you see them, they like do the motion. There might not be a flag in their hand, but they do the motion if there's a flag. Well, I saw very little of that on Saturday, and I felt like there was a ball on Teron Francis. Nick Anderson was getting pushed around a little bit. Darion Brown, I think, was held on one play.
So
on the one-on-one reps. In the one-on-one reps, you saw a lot of holding. So I think they probably, I guess, loosened up on the flags a little bit, but that could also be a contributor on why the wide receivers probably had their worst day.
Yeah, allowing them to play through a little bit of physicality, allowing the defense to be physical, rough them around a little bit. Because, look, the preparation right now is for August 30th, and Mike Guidry asked about a record prediction based on fall camp, and then also said, where was the other one before? He wants a record, but I'll just start with August 30th. I've seen a lot. Actually, the draft podcast that I was on a couple of weeks ago, previewing some of the LSU players. They're doing one to preview some matchups between LSU and Clemson, whether it's Clemson wide receivers versus LSU corners, LSU offensive line, Clemson, those sorts of things. That's where a lot of this kind of resides when we're talking about the physicality of kind of the LSU defensive backs, is getting the mindset of allowing them to be physical, because this Clemson wide receiver room is very talented. Mm-hmm. And then the same with the offensive line is they need to be put in adverse situations to be prepared for August 30th. They have to be able to, like Steve Veal says, fight through mental challenges. And so that's why some of these situations they're put in practice are not always going to be conducive with success for the O-line. It's not always going to be, hey, let's put the O-line in this spot. You're not always trying to beat your defense. Like, you're not. This isn't a game where your record is on the line. Put them in adverse situations so that they can fight through the adversity, and then hopefully when the record is on the line on August 30th and you're trying to go 1-0, they've already been put in spots that are not going to be the easiest to come back from, so that they're prepared for what's to come this season. And so I like that the offensive line is not just getting kind of, I guess, coddled, which I wouldn't have the expectation to. Mike Guidry, Clemson's defense finished 83rd in the FBS in rushing yards allowed per game, 70th in total yards allowed per game. Their D-line does not have 3 first-rounders. They are overrated. Of course, I like there are preseason expectations that never come to fruition every year. And I think that the Clemson defensive line is being hyped up very much. But I don't think LSU's in the position from an offensive line standpoint, but also just in totality when it comes to game ones, to be in the position to count anybody out. Like that USC defense didn't have very many NFL players on it, in my opinion, but they still held the LSU offense to 20 points.
Nobody was worried about Braden Swinson last year.
These things happen, and I get there are going to be things that don't come to fruition on that Clemson defensive line. Now, I think Peter Woods is real, and if you haven't seen it, he's real.
Yeah.
I like what Kimberly says, where I think the LSU defensive line is very much, very, very, very good and is going to be surprising. But Sabron as well. Like, Clemson hired a new defensive coordinator over the offseason, and those things happen. Like, it would be like USC going into last year basing their scout on LSU's defense off of the fact that they were 120, 130th in 2023, but they were very much improved last year. Like, things changed throughout the year, and LSU's not in the position to count anybody out or feel too good going into the game. But I do think you've seen some things from an offensive line standpoint that can be reassuring. They've battled, they've been competitive, they've been physical, they've been intense, and they're being put in situations where they're not always going to be successful, and so they're going to have to push through some of those things to continue to move forward and be ready for August 30th. Because as much as we might think the Clemson defensive line is a little overhyped, this LSU offensive line still, they've never played a game together, all 5 of them. And that is a guarantee regardless who the 5 is. Those 5 have never been on a line together because you've got Braylon Moore in the mix. You've got Josh Thompson in the mix. Like, those 5 have never played a game against another opponent together. And very few of them have played a game against an SEC opponent or, played on the road against a Power 4 opponent. Like, there are going to be growing pains and learning lessons for this offensive line against an experienced Clemson defensive line. So I think that situation in general adds for some concern. Mike Guidry, do you expect us to win versus Clemson? I think if they roll out the team that you've seen in fall camp up to this point, and hey, I haven't seen Clemson in fall camp, so I don't know what they look like. But I'll just take Clemson just in the fact of they are who the expectations say they are. So it's probably going to be a little bit raised, my opinion of them right now, than who they will be on August 30th. But I'd rather have that mindset than the worst. I think if LSU, who they are right now, go out there, who they were at practice on Saturday, go out there, probably not. LSU, who I've got a very good look at, versus a Clemson team that I don't, I'm going to take Clemson at the highest of the expectations, and I'm going to take LSU out of what we've seen over the last couple of practice. I would say Clemson wins that game. But the good thing is there are, 19 days until game day, which means probably
and look,
14 or 15 practices left.
And this is a Clemson team that hasn't lived up to
and Clemson's not going to be as good as my expectation, like where I'm basing them at right now. I'm prefacing that as clearly as I can. I'm basing my Clemson expectations off of how high the hype is on them right now. So I don't think they will be as good as my expectations are saying right now. The team I'm basing Clemson off of, I don't think they will be that good. And the LSU I'm basing it off of still has 19 days to grow and get better. And I think they will. My main concern is the fact that they don't have their 5 on the O-line figured out yet. And I definitely still think there's growth in the defensive backfield to be had. But from what we've seen at practice, they've looked good. This is going to be a competitive game regardless. I don't think they're going to get boat raced out of Clemson Stadium at all. But Kimberly, I agree. It would be very interesting to listen to some of the reporting coming out of Clemson's camp, and that might be something that we need to get into this week to get some more, I guess, clarity on what the opponent is looking like in a similar situation. Because, like I'm saying, I've got a very good view of LSU. I don't of Clemson. So I'm overhyping Clemson, and I feel like I almost have to because of what has been the case for LSU in game ones over the last 5 years, where majority of the time they've lost to teams that were worse than it. I would say USC last year, they lost to a lesser opponent. Florida State in 22, I would say, was somewhat of a lesser opponent. And then obviously UCLA 21, Mississippi State 20. Definitely Mississippi State. Maybe UCLA in 21. I think those were just two bad teams. I think the only team you can sit back and say was better than LSU when they beat LSU was 2023 Florida State in these game ones up to this point. And so I think that I'm going to take Clemson at a overhyped standpoint of where I'm basing them off of right now, rather than being more realistic with it just because of what we've seen with LSU. And one thing I do know about Clemson is their defensive back room is not as experienced and is not hyped up as much as the rest of that defense, especially that front seven is very good. The offensive line, they were training a lot of stars. The wide receiver room is very good. Obviously, they have Klubnik. Offensively, it's the running back where they have some issues.
So far from what I've seen and from Clemson media is the way we talk about the LSU offensive line, they talk about their secondary in the sense that it's inexperienced. It's probably the weakest position going into the season that they have their most concerns about. So something to look for, because I think LSU can really hit them hard on that.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously have the talent at the skill positions on offensive line. We've got Glenn West of 24/7 Sports 24/7 Sports joining us to talk LSU football here. As there's been a lot of news over the last 3 or 4 days, from Nusmeier's injury to media availability at practice on Saturday. We've got our guy Glenn joining us. It's been a while because we had to rain check him last time due to some internet issues that we don't have today, so he is back. Glenn, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
All right, thank you guys. Appreciate you having me. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing well. It's good to see you and talk some ball. We'll get it started with the Nusmeier deal. Obviously, it was a hectic, I guess you could say, 48 hours from Wednesday all the way until Friday when Kelly came in to the media room and gave the announcement, and then he was out on the field on Saturday. How crazy was that 48 hours, and then how did he look on the field on Saturday at practice?
Yeah, definitely had a lot of buddies texting me and freaking out a little bit there over that 48 hours. I'm sure you guys did too. But fear not. Brian Kelly and LSU were able to come in and kind of squash the serious injury rumors that were going around. I mean, I don't think there was really ever anything to those. And obviously, he comes in and tells us that Garrett's dealing with some tendonitis issues that have flared up in his knee, going back to a previous surgery that he had in 2023. And it's just something that they're going to have to monitor here going forward over the next couple of, really throughout the entirety of this season. I mean, it's a chronic issue. It's not something that ever fully goes away. If you can manage it and make it to where it's maybe not, present in a certain, period of time. And so that's certainly what I think he and LSU are going to be working to do here over the next several months. And I thought he looked pretty good, moving around on Saturday. He had a little sleeve on his knee, I guess, for some extra padding, some extra protection. But, moved well in the pocket. You got out and even scrambled for a few runs throughout the course of the practice, and even laid a little bit of a block. There was a little change of direction by Caden Durham on one of the run plays, and kind of a freelance deal. And Nuss kind of maybe stuck his shoulder out in front a little bit to try to give Durham a little bit of extra room to run. So I don't think he's thinking about it too much, and as a result, I don't think we should be thinking about it too much either. So he's looked good, and I thought Saturday was maybe the best that the passing offense has looked from the first couple of days where they've been in full pads. So hopefully some progress is going to be made there over the next several weeks as well.
And then also at practice, what were some of your takeaways? It's been a while since we've spoken, and I think there's kind of been some ebbs and flows with the offensive line, where there's been some days where they've been very competitive and looked improved, and then I think last week they had a rough, the first day in full pads was a rough day for that unit, and then obviously practice again on Saturday. What have you seen from that group, whether it's kind of their mentality, their physicality, and the way they've battled against a defensive front, to me, in LSU, which is very, very talented. What's been your takeaways with the offensive line up to this point?
Yeah, look, I mean, they're going up against a group in the defensive line is playing with a lot of confidence and a lot of momentum, and those guys are really kind of leading the charge. I think in fall camp, as you mentioned there, they've been the most consistent group. They've been really, really good. But as a result, the offensive line is going through some growing pains right now. They have some veteran talent. They have guys that have starting experience, but the one thing you need to have is you got to have some cohesion on that O-line. And this is still a first-year group that's been put together, and I think you're still seeing some of that when it translates over to 11 on 11. Just talking with a couple of the guys that were watching the offensive line, defensive line, kind of one-on-one drills. The first team offensive line actually won a good portion of those reps on Saturday when it's just one-on-one, mano-y-mano, their guy going against, y'all's guy. And so, but when that translates over to the 11 on 11 stuff, that's where we're seeing kind of the discrepancy take place. And so I think it's good that they have kind of settled in on a 5. Tyree Adams at left tackle, DJ Chester at left guard, Braylon Moore at center, Josh Thompson at right guard, and Weston Davis at right tackle. It has been a very popular combination here over the first couple weeks of fall camp, and I think we just need to see if they can have a little bit more cohesion here as the weeks go along. That's what's needed. Is I think timing is more than anything, and I think that there's been a couple of rotating guys that have rotated at guard. Cohen Eccles comes to mind, certainly Paul Mubenga as well. But you guys have been out there. I would say 90% of the reps have been going to that first unit as a 5, and I think that that's really, really important that they kind of get that settled here over the first couple weeks, or over the next couple weeks, I should say, and see if they can't push back a little bit. I thought that they pushed back a little bit more on Saturday. The problem with Saturday was the penalties, and there was probably 4 or 5 false starts and a couple of holding calls that really soured what I thought was an otherwise improved day of protection on Nusmeier, and they opened up a few runs too when they weren't, giving up some those free yards because of the penalties. So still some things to clean up for sure, but LSU I think is going to be working with that offensive line from now until that Clemson game to make sure that they're a cohesive unit.
Yeah, and when you look at, obviously fall camp, it's you against you, and it's kind of a catch-22 when we're talking about the offensive line and the defensive line. I've asked this question a handful of times, and I want to get your opinion on, is it more of a really good defensive line versus a good offensive line, or is it an offensive line that's not very good making a defensive line look better than they are, from your point of view?
It's a good question, but I think this defensive line is going to be legit this year. I think they're going to be really good. I love the pieces that they put in place and how those guys are responding to the coaching that they've had. Kevin Peoples, I think, is one of the better pass rush coaches there is in the game, and Kyle Williams even it seems to be looking like he's having a really solid effect on guys like Dominic McKinley, Ahmad Bro. Bernard Gooden has been maybe the star of fall camp so far. And that's where really the pressure has started on the interior. And those guys have done a really nice job of setting the tone for the rest of the defense to make plays as well. And I think you're seeing that. I think that this is just right now a really solid defensive line that's getting the best of an offensive line that's still trying to figure out the chemistry part and the cohesion part. And I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you in 3 weeks if it's going to be fixed or in a better place. I just know that what we're seeing right now has to be better if they have a chance, if they want to have a chance against Clemson. And that's just kind of where I'm at with this right now with the offensive line. I think that they have a lot of work to do, and this is another big week here ahead of them to try to continue to make progress that we started to see maybe on Saturday a little bit.
And then talking about some of those new faces and the additions to that defensive line room, you brought up Bernard Gooden, who has arguably been the star of fall camp for LSU up to this point. Is it, with him, you've seen maybe last practice on Saturday, the chirping back and forth, a little bit of chippiness between him and Nusmeier, but really the intensity that he's brought every single day to fall camp going up against the offensive line and being out there on the field. What have you seen from number 88 up to this point?
He's a talker, man. He has gotten into it with just about everybody so far, including Garrett Nussmeier. They had a nice little kind of end of practice chat back and forth at each other. I think Nuss thought he was maybe clapping at the line of scrimmage and causing some of those penalty issues. And, we'll see kind of what happens. But I think Gooden is just a really great veteran piece that's going to be able to make a lot of things happen for LSU. He had 10 tackles for loss at USF last year. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he's had that many in the first 2 weeks of fall camp. I mean, he's been that active up front there and really setting the tone for those younger guys like McKinley, like Bro, and Jacoby and Guillory has looked really good next to him as well. And so I think he's probably the guy that, if I had to say right now, would be like the interior D lineman that gets the most reps. But we also know that that's going to be a group that really substitutes a lot here over the first several weeks as they try to lock in a rotation and kind of keep those guys fresh and healthy to where that depth that they have this year between Gooden and Guillory and McKinley and Bro and Sadir Mitchell, that those guys can all have an impact and be really good players for them on the interior. So he's been, I think he's been probably the best player in terms of just consistency out of offense and defense. I mean, he's just been that good. And we'll see kind of what else, kind of crops up here with this interior D-line. Like, I think that a lot of these guys have immense potential and work really well next to each other, pair really well next to each other. And now it's just going to be about what group is most effective for what situation, and I think that's something that they're still learning right now as a defense.
And you talk about the depth on the defensive line, especially the interior of that defensive line, but really the depth on the defense as a whole for LSU is what's kind of caught my eye so far through fall camp, where they really have a strong rotation at almost every position on the field on that side of the ball, whether it's the defensive backfield, linebacker, edge rusher, interior D-line, like you said. I'll stick with just the defensive backfield, the corners and the safety spots, where they've had a really strong rotation of really, 4 or 5 at both of those positions. What have you seen so far in the defensive rotation for LSU?
Yeah, I think Delane is probably the guy that I feel safest saying right now would be a starter in the secondary for LSU. I think everything else, all bets are off. Like, they have been rotating a ton at that other cornerback spot, certainly in the back half of the defense with the safety position. Just a couple names. I think Ashton Stamps and PJ Woodland have maybe had the most first-team reps opposite of Delane at this point. Woodland's a guy who's making a ton of plays out there. Stamps has obviously got 2 years of starting experience now under his belt, and I think he's looked a little bit better this year. I still have some worries about him long term with his coverage ability, but I think that there are guys that are going to absolutely be a part of this rotation at cornerback, and that's not settled at all. DJ Pickett has been a pretty consistent second teamer. They've really thrown him, into the Wolves here with a lot of their veterans and getting him reps against Barry and Brown and Chris Hilton and some veteran players who have so much experience. And he's learning right now, and I think he's in a learning phase. And to me, it's always been about when DJ Pickett enters that lineup and not if. I don't know that it's going to happen week 1 against Clemson at this point, but I do think that the best version of this secondary and defense will eventually be when Pickett gets up to speed and has kind of learned the college game, has gotten his reps early in the season, and is able to make a huge impact for LSU at some point in his freshman year. At safety, I mean, they've rotated a ton there. I mean, it's really hard to lock in a duo right now. You've got one series where it's Jordan Gilbert back there with AJ Halsey, another series where it's Tamarcus Cooley and AJ Halsey, and then another series where it's Jordan Gilbert and Deshaun Spears. Like there's probably a group of 5 guys that they've been rotating in between the 4 that I just mentioned, and also Javian Toviano. So there's still a lot that needs to be worked out at safety. So the 2 safety spots and then the second cornerback spot opposite the lane, I think, are still pretty wide open here as we enter the final 3 weeks here before the Clemson game, and we'll see just kind of what that looks like and which guys are able to maybe separate themselves here over the next few weeks.
A quick one from the chat. Spectrum Wellcare says, ask Glenn, will Zion Williams contribute this year at D-tackle?
Maybe. I think right now it's probably looking like Sadir Mitchell, Dominic McKinley, Jacobian Guillory, Bernard Gooden, and Ahmad Bro are kind of the 5 that have really worked in the most with the first and second team. I'm not saying that a guy like Zion Williams, who's a legit 355 pounds, can't muscle his way in there and have some kind of role where he's a run stuffer this year as kind of a big body. But I think that's kind of the role that they see Sadir Mitchell in right now. And I thought, going back to the spring, he had some really good moments, did Mitchell. And so, I haven't seen a ton of him this fall, just because I've been so ingrained on Gooden and McKinley and Bro and all the plays that they're making right now. But I think the position that you'd ask Zion Williams to play is one that Sadir Mitchell is very capable of playing as well. And so I think that they're probably going to go, experience over freshman right now. But that's not to say that that won't change and Zion Williams can't make some kind of impact as a freshman.
Last one I've got, obviously, Joe Sloan met with the media on Friday after practice. And the biggest takeaway, obviously, from that presser was Kelly coming in and giving the rundown on Nusmeier. But were there any tidbits from Sloan that stood out as he met with the media in a press conference on Friday?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think probably the thing that stood out to me the most was he got asked about what kind of reflecting he's done since last year and the ways to improve the efficiency of the play calling that LSU's had. And he talked a lot about how it's been, kind of a group effort and getting that on track. But really the part that stood out to me was the run game. There were a couple questions that he had about the run game that I thought were interesting, and just different ways that they're trying to be creative in that respect. Obviously, Alex Atkins was brought in to be a leading voice in that room as well, along with Sloan and Brad Davis and Frank Wilson on how to get the run game maybe a little bit more consistent this year and really open up those holes for Caden Durham to make some plays happen in the second level. And I think there have been some signs of that, like Durham's broken off a couple of big runs, but there's also been a lot of runs that have gone for no gain or 2 yards or 1 yard or a tackle for loss here. So like they're still working on some things in the run game. The first full day of pads, they had a couple different 11-on-11 drills, and I would say like 95% of the plays were run. Like they were really sticking to the run early and often in that 11-on-11 session. And I think Nusmeier threw only 2 passes. Like it was very intentional with how much they were working on the run on that practice day. So I think that there's some things they have to get better at with the run going forward, but I think that they have the talent at that position to really be explosive if they're able to open up those holes, get the right calls checked. That was another thing that Sloan talked about, is that Nusmeier has as big of a role in this as anything in terms of calling out the right defenses and making sure that they're in the right setup for those run plays. So it's going to be a group effort. I still think that there's work to be done there, but they've also shown an ability to pop off some big runs as well. And Durham, when he gets into that second level, man, he's going to be really hard to deal with if they're able to do that consistently.
And speaking of the run game, before we get you out of here, just the running back position itself, obviously the JT Lindsay situation ongoing. I just want to talk about that room because obviously there's a lot of stock put in on Caden Durham as he was, on preseason award watch lists to be one of the best offensive players in football, and there's a lot of expectation for him to be very, very good going into his sophomore season. But he can't do it by himself. Obviously, running back is a position where you have to have a good mix, and especially definitely two guys. That running back room consists of two other guys in Harlan Berry and Caleb Jackson who are expected to take some of that workload away from Caden. What have you seen at fall camp and kind of your expectations for the running back room in 2025?
Yeah, Durham's going to be your featured guy. I'm not saying he's going to run the ball 25, 26 times a game like Leonard Fournette did back in the day, but 15, 16, 17 touches a game is kind of where I'm sitting with Durham. Like, he's been that heavily involved in the offensive game plan in fall camp so far, and I think he's going to have a major role in that week 1 game against Clemson. And then, just behind him is just going to be the question mark of how they want to utilize Caleb Jackson and Harlan Berry in particular. Jackson's kind of your ground and pound guy, the guy that, if you're in 3rd and short or 3rd and you just need a couple of yards to run it up the middle, Jackson's going to be that guy. I think the weight is something that was brought up a lot this offseason. He's still around that 230, 235 range. So they obviously think he's going to be the power back for LSU this year. And maybe if they open up some more consistent holes, he can make some different things happen and things of that nature. But the real X factor to me is going to be at Harlan Berry, just because I think he has so much potential to be a multifaceted piece in this offense. I mean, I think on Saturday he had the 2nd most carries behind Caden Durham in that 11-on-11 kind of simulated scrimmage that they had on Saturday. And so he's somebody that has a lot of quick twitch, change direction, speed. He's somebody that I could see them using in the screen game as a running back, in the passing game. So I think that they are really high on him, and his opportunities are only going to continue to increase. But you got to keep those 3 guys healthy. And, I think, as we get further and further along in fall camp, you could see Jawan Johnson getting more and more opportunities at running back to maybe be a 4th guy, with obviously the Lindsay situation playing out the way that it has. So we'll see kind of how that shakes out, but they got to stay healthy at that position because they are on fumes right now from a numbers perspective.
Well, Glenn, we appreciate your time and the insight as always. We'll talk to you again soon, and we'll see you out on the practice field.
All right, thanks guys. See you out there.
Thank you. There he is, Glenn West at Glenn West 21, senior writer for 24/7 Sports, covering the Tigers, giving some great insight and discussion there. As LSU's got about 3 weeks left of fall camp, getting geared up for August 30th against the Clemson Tigers. Don't forget, every single day we are brought to you by CAS Roofing and Advising. Our friends over at CAS had their logo on the back of our jerseys for the softball tournament this weekend. Make sure you know about our guy Pierce Patterson over at CAS Roofing. 225-910-0619 is the number. They're still running that special, I guess you could call, where they've got some tickets, some season tickets up for grabs for LSU football. If you have a roof that is 10+ years old, and you are within a 50-mile radius of their office there on Magnolia Bridge, give them a call. Get a free roof inspection, whether you need a new roof or not, whether there's damage or not. They'll hop up there, they'll check it out, and they'll let you know what the deal is. And you'll get put in for that drawing for those LSU football season tickets. So make sure you give our guy Pierce Patterson a call, 225-910-0619. And they've really been crushing it on social media lately. So make sure you follow at CAS Roofing on Instagram. and CAS Roofing and Advising over there on Facebook, where they're putting out really cool videos telling you about the roofs they're knocking out right now, walking you through some of the things you need to be looking for if you need a new roof, but also just having a little bit of fun. So make sure you follow them over on social media as they take care of us every single day, and they make the show possible. Krim M, I've been saying Clemson probably beats us. After listening to all this camp talk, I'm kind of leaning towards the other way now, though. After seeing Joe Sloan's press conference, I'm worried about the offense. Defense should be okay, though. Yeah, I mean, look, Clemson offers an interesting challenge for LSU, is that they are very similar teams, and so the things that you would call LSU's strengths, Clemson also kind of has those strengths. Returning quarterback with experience. They've got a returning quarterback as well with more experience. As Klubnik, this will be his third or fourth year starting. Third. I think.
No, four.
I don't remember. I don't know
third
if he
year
was
starting, 4 year on the program.
Yep,
maybe?
I think so. And so he's got even more experience at the QB spot.
He was with Ewers.
Yes, they've got they've got an offensive line that is very experienced, and then their defensive front is their strength, as is LSU. So there are some strengths that LSU has, like talented wide receivers. They both have that. Experienced quarterback. They both have that. Very good defensive front. They both have that. So a lot of LSU strengths Clemson also has. So it's an interesting kind of dynamic between the two. The way, as Hunter Hall is being a little dramatic, who's surprised from a whole Alabama fan. But he says, is Tingle on record saying LSU will be 0-1? No, I am not. What I said is that if I'm taking LSU of who they are right now on the practice field versus this overhyped, very, very outstanding, extremely over-the-top Clemson team, as they've been made out to be on through the media, and just where I'm going to place them just from the fact that it's game one and LSU has not played very well in game one, has made team look better than they are, I would have Clemson as the favorite.
This is a
right now.
JoshPateTake.com right here.
But
on a neutral site with good weather and no problems refereeing, I take the underdog.
Well, it's the only way I can
favorite.
truly and accurately base it, because I have not seen Clemson on the practice field. I have no knowledge of who they are going into 2025 from an eyes looking at it. I haven't read anything. I haven't listened. I have not scouted in depth. So I'm basing them all off of just the things that I've heard through the media. And I'm basing LSU off of what I've seen. And I would assume they're in very similar positions because you still have 3 weeks left in camp. But I'm going to bump Clemson up a little bit just from the sheer fact that it's week one. So I think that LSU is going to be a much better team in 3 weeks from where they are right now. And I'm excited to see what they continue to do at fall camp this week. And the thing I'm most excited about is being in Clemson the weekend of August 30th as LSU and Clemson face off out there in South Carolina. I'm excited to be there. And shout out to our guy, Tommy G, Tom Granning, for making it possible for us to get out there. Go-Mart and Wardo's out there in Natchez are going to be taking care of us, getting us there. And make sure you reach out to Tommy G. Let him know if he's in the chat. Make sure you know it. Make sure he knows you appreciate him, what he's done for us. And anytime you're stopping through Natchez, swing by Go-Mart and Wardo's. Glimmer Fredette, Vegas really scarred him. Of course it did. I've been scarred over the last 5 years. You know how hard it is to have high expectations for a game one when you haven't seen it happen in 5 years. But make sure you give Tommy G a shout out as he's taking care of us, getting us to Clemson. And we're going to make our stop in Natchez, swing by Go-Mart, get some gas, and feed the fellas at Wardo's. Me, Christian, and Lloyd, and I think Jonathan as well, will all be in attendance. And then CAS and All About Inflatables will be with us as well. So we'll be making the trip to Clemson. We will take a quick break here. We'll come back, and we'll close out hour number 2 here on this Monday morning on Tingle & Co.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
When it comes to your home, the roof over your head matters. At CAS Roofing, we don't just install shingles, we build peace of mind. With years of experience and a commitment to craftsmanship, our team shows up on time, gets the job done right, and treats every project like it's our own home. Whether it's a repair, a replacement, or a storm damage that caught you off guard, CAS Roofing is ready. We're local, we're dependable, and we stand behind every nail, every shingle, and every promise we make. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about roofing, it's about protecting what matters most. CAS Roofing, built on trust, backed by quality.
Let's get it, let's go. From 7 to 9, it's Tingle and go. What up, Lloyd? What up, Lloyd? You can call me him. I'm Shay Dixon in the whip with them RPMs. Gotta pull up to the check and shit out to them. I'm trying to ball like Big Folk, then get out the gym. Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. When you see that notification, we about to go live.
All right, welcome back here as we're closing out hour number 2 here on this Monday morning in Tingle. We are going to roll out of here a little early. We'll make it all the way to 9 a.m. this morning. I know I'm sorry to let you all down as we're just going to get out of here a little early. Got some things that we have to take care of. But talking about some expectations for LSU versus Clemson, I know everyone's on my case here. But what I will say is if I'm going to put a score prediction down right now on August 11th, talking about August 30th, I would have LSU winning the football game. I would have LSU because I think this game, although it's important for everybody, I think it's much more important for LSU than it is for Clemson when you just look at the schedules as a whole. Clemson, obviously, in their ACC schedule, they made the playoff last season, losing 2 SEC games, 3 games in total because of their ACC schedule. LSU would be in a much tougher position to go down 0-1 and have to try to claw back than Clemson would be. And so I think there's just a much stronger emphasis on this first game from the LSU side than the Clemson side. But obviously I'm not inside the Clemson facility, so I don't know the stress that they are putting on it. I just think this is of the utmost importance for LSU. And I have LSU winning a tightly contested ball game of about, I think my score would be 23-21. LSU wins is what I would say. I think it's going to be a dogfight. Like, I genuinely think when you look at this game, very similarly to USC last year, where you see 2 teams in a similar situation, you look at it on paper, you probably think it's going to be a boat race. You think it's going to be a barn burner. You think you're going to see LSU, Clemson, Klubnik, Nusmeier just torch, run it up. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. I think these defensive fronts are 2 of the best in the country, and you're going to see it on full display. Glimmer Fredette, it sounds like Noah is in my camp now. He wants LSU to prove it to him, but sees their tremendous upside. Look, they are a much better team right now in 2025 than they were this time last season, 100%. But the team they're playing week 1 is also extremely better than who they played in week 1 last year. Those things are both true. And I am very much in the camp of I want to see it.
And it's not, I will say this, it is not also just player talent that's better. This is year 2 Blake Baker.
Yes.
This is year 2 of Joe Sloan play calling. This is year 2 of Garrett Nussmeier. Your offensive line is new. You have a better secondary. So it's not all just player talent. A lot of it is, but this is experience coming back.
You've got your coordinators returning. You've got position coaches returning. There's a lot of good things when you're talking about LSU going into 25 that they didn't have going into 24. But this is the toughest team you've played just on paper week 1 so far out of the last 6. I will continue to say I'm extremely excited about what August 30th is going to have in store for LSU. Johnny L. Goodson, the talent has to translate from paper to the field and show up. Yes. And that's on both sides. Clemson and LSU are in the same camp talking about that. They've got the talent on paper. Both teams do. Now put it on the field and make it happen. And I think both teams are going to have a lot to prove on August 30th. Like, it's going to be a big-time marquee matchup week 1. And so I'm very, very excited to be there. And if you're going to be in Clemson, make sure you let us know so we can see you. Because we're gonna make the trip. We're gonna make the trek. We're driving down on Friday. Probably gonna leave right after the show Friday morning. Roll our way to Clemson. Be there all day Saturday. We'll roll right back Sunday morning. I have a feeling I'll be behind the wheel, especially Sunday morning.
Yeah,
if it's a win.
Definitely. So I would definitely agree.
Back?
Yep.
All right, we're back. Got it. Shout out to Christian working hard back there behind the 1s and 2s trying to get us back up. Like I said, we're going to be out of here a little bit early. But the good thing is we've got some really exciting news coming up, as I don't believe we will be in this same location for all that much longer, especially through football season, because of issues just kind of like that, man, where we have some of those internet problems, and it's just something that we have been working to get solved, and we're going to have solved, and part of that solving is going to be in a place that looks a little bit different. So we have some exciting stuff coming up. Make sure you guys stay with us.
Practice today.
Appreciate Christian.
Just found out.
There we go. Appreciate Christian working hard behind the 1s and 2s to keep us up and rolling this morning. But we're going to get out of here a little bit early, about 30 minutes early. So I apologize about that. Just some unfortunate events this morning. As Sabrion said, where did Lloyd go? He has rolled on out this morning, so we're going to go check on him. We're going to get ready for practice.
Will we be back later today for a post-practice?
It depends
report?
how long practice is.
Yeah,
if it's just 15 minutes, not going to be much to see. But if we get to stay for the entirety, then we will be back here to break it all down. So we'll close it out this morning. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and we'll be back tomorrow morning 7 to 9 to talk some more LSU Tiger football. Appreciate you guys. Shout out to all of our sponsors and all of you for taking care of us. Thank you, Christian, for stepping in.
Yes.
And we'll be back tomorrow morning.